Hi team, Poe here with another devlog. And today's video is what you've all been waiting for, water magic. We ended up spending a long time internally playtesting and revising what we thought would be fun for water magic. We really wanted to capture the essence of water and ice with fluidity, power and skill. The spells will continue to be refined as we gather feedback from the community, so please make sure to download the update and let us know what you think. Okay, enough waffling, let's get into the water spells. Water has the most amount of spells we've ever initially put into a class, and has some really cool passive effects too. Starting with Water Whip. This one was heavily inspired by Katara's Water Whip in Avatar: The Last Airbender. You can summon a small orb of water to your hand and then flick it out with high manipulation. If you pull the trigger while it is out, it will return to your hand. This is a high skill move, and I can't wait to see what happens when someone figures out how to do this with two hands at the same time. Next is Water Ball. Similar to Whip, you start by summoning an orb of water, but instead of to your hand, this one is larger and is more of a projectile. Water Orb can then be manipulated to absorb enemy attacks, wet enemies with collisions, or can be turned into a frost storm or bomb attack by closing your fist. If the ball is moving slowly, then an area of effect spell will trigger, and if it's moving fast, then an ice storm projectile will trigger. Speaking of frost storm, this spell can also be used by charging your magic and punching forwards. Next is Splash. One of our two main spammable spells for water, Splash can be used to stop enemy attacks, knock them back a bit, cause enemies to have wetness status effect, and also deal some damage. Now, I've mentioned some spells wetting enemies, or causing a wetness status effect, so I guess I should mention some of the key passives for water and ice before getting into the rest of the spells. Once an enemy is considered wet, you will notice a dripping effect applied to them. Once they have this effect, you can then use one of the ice spells to change the status into the frozen status. Frozen enemies can then have minor damage applied to shatter them, instantly defeating these enemies. Because this move is basically a one-shot KO, we currently don't have the wet status effect applied to all enemy types. Let us know in the comments if we should have this applied to all enemies. Another way to freeze wet enemies is to use the Snap Freeze ability. This one is a mix of passive and active, because it doesn't require a gesture, but you still need to actively apply it to an enemy. By targeting a wet enemy at close range with grip, you can slowly apply frozen to them without having to use a frost spell. The easiest way of freezing enemies, I would say, is the next spell, Frost Spray. Similar to Fire Spray, you can create a jet of frost that pushes away from your hand. Directing this at enemies will damage and cause the frozen status effect. Additionally, you can aim this at the ground to create frozen patches of ice, bridges over gaps, or even walls. This works with another passive of water magic, where you move faster on ice and can grip to slide around. Did somebody say Frozone? The next spell is the other spammable attack, Ice Shard. By flicking your wrist towards the enemy, you can shoot darts of ice that stick into enemies for a long-range precision attack. These are also physical objects, so you can grab them and use them as melee weapons or climbing aids. All I'll say is that I've hit our new humanoid enemies in some compromising positions with these shards, and I can't wait to see your clips of what all of you can do with them. Similar to Ice Shard, we have the Shuriken spell. Shuriken can be summoned to the hand by flicking your wrist up, and then can be used as a higher damage projectile. Shuriken also has an additional slicing effect that can slice bot parts, arms, legs, and even heads off enemies. Last but certainly not least is Tentacle. This is one of my favourite spells for its variety of uses. You can summon tentacles to each hand and then use them to batter enemies or block attacks by waving them around. We also have a grab feature, so you can swing like Spider-Man or grab enemies and throw them around the sandbox. When you are grabbing something, you can also pull yourself forwards for a boost jump. We are actively tuning Tentacle for additional effects and finer control. We want you to be able to swing, climb, grab, throw, and decimate enemies with these tentacles, so stay tuned for a future update. That's it for water magic for now, but we are working with our awesome Discord on fine-tuning the spells to make them as good as they can be. Let us know in the comments below what your favourite spell is, or if you have an idea for water magic that we may have missed. We value all of your input. That's it for this video. Make sure to join our Discord. I'll leave a link in the description of the video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.